in this town. It affects me twice as much as it should. I don't understand where the money went that was there years and years ago. Not only for this, but it seems that you guys are really bad with money all the way around. Fire department always had trucks paid for ahead of time. Where is the money going that used to be set up for this? We don't have it, and I only know of a few people to blame for this. So I would like that answered sometime. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Mr. and Mrs. Martinson from Carver Lane, whichever one wants to go first.
Good evening, I'm Luann Martinson. I reside at 751 Carberg Lane here in Port Edwards. And being a past member of the board, I know that when it comes down to budgets, it's very stressful. And there's always one place or another that needs money more than somebody else's choice, I guess, or maybe their decision. And I know that all of you have worked very hard in putting these budgets together. I remember myself, it was very stressful. However, I do not think that it's advisable, in my opinion, that the budget be cut to the point where the general public is going to have to make up the difference. I personally think that the village of Port Edwards has changed a lot during the past few years. I know there's a lot of homes that are rented out now. And I also feel that it just isn't fair to the people that own these properties, that they should be assessed with these special road projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Luann. Mike?
I will pass. That was well said.
Yeah, okay, but
I will defer to
you
her.
can still reserve the right for 3 minutes if you change your mind before we're done.
Okay.
Jim Sherman from Madison Avenue, please.
Hello, Jim Sherman, 311 Madison Avenue, corner lot. I have a lot of questions about this new assessment you're trying to push through, but I guess I can't get them answered tonight. I'll just give you some of my points here. Something this big should be on a referendum, so the whole village has a chance to vote on it. Most of the village doesn't even know you're trying to push this through. If we wouldn't have talked to a few people in the area, I wouldn't be here tonight because I didn't know a damn thing about it. All the road work should have been budgeted last November. December, you okayed a budget for this year. It's only March and now you're looking for extra money already? Something ain't right here. Once this gets out, if it does pass, what do you think is going to happen to the resale of homes in Port Edwards? They're not real good right now. They're going to get worse. A couple things that I watched your State of the Village address there, Boz, or whatever you like to be called, and it says in there we get 4 million in revenue last year and only spent 3 million. Says in the newsletter, we're going to take 4.5 million in this year. We're only spending 3.5 million. Why are you trying to put special assessments on the taxpayers? I don't understand it. And the way you split up the village here, it says it's split this way so we can conduct a flat assessment fairly. I don't know what you were smoking when you wrote that, but down here, the village proper does not have everything you talked about. The new village is not done the way you talked about. And the boundary, all them lines aren't under them roads. So I don't know how you could put something like that in here. I guess my biggest thing is no new assessments at this time. You got a lot more discussion to be had about all this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sherman. Mr. Zerflu from 821st Street, please.
Jerry Zerflu, I live at 821st Street, Port Edwards, since 1968. And through this progression of whatever we're doing, I've seen the village go downhill so fast. I used to kid Jeff from the village crew if he'll ever get all the holes fixed in the road. We had money, but my concern is, where does 175 feet of frontage come in? The neighborhood I live in, our lots are 60 feet. Why am I paying almost 3 times more what I don't need? If you figure that out and divide like 175 feet into 1,500, you come up with $8.57 a foot. So instead of paying $1,500, I pay $514. Something maybe I can live with if we need it. But I don't think there's a lot of thought going in. And I think, in my estimation, we've got to look at this a lot more, because I've watched those village crews work since Dell was here, and they've been doing as much with a lot less. And it's just biting us in the, you know what, but I'm not at all in favor of this, especially with the small lots. And I've got 22 homes right around me, all the same size. So are we paying again, which is, seems to be the village board's motto, let all these little people pay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zerflu. We are still within the public comment section. Sir, do you want to sign in for me, please? Use your name and address, and do you wish to speak at zero time if you wish?
Yes, I would.
Okay. In the meantime, Mr. Lee Trumbull, First Street. And for audibility, you're more than welcome to lower the mask.
Okay, thank you.
That way people can hear you.
My name is Lee Tremmel, live at 961 First Street, Port Edwards here. First off, everybody uses the streets, everybody uses the sidewalks, everybody pays for them. Charging people for what they have out in front of their house, I just don't understand that. Charging for the road, for the sidewalk, for the curb and gutter, which was an assessment that's always been there. I take that back, okay? But at any rate, the fairness of the 0 to 175 feet in relationship to people having 50 feet or 55 foot are paying the same as the person that owns much more footage. That is not correct. You own more, you pay more. That's that simple. But but this program that you have here, it's just, that's just not correct in that sense. It's not fair. It's not fair at all. Like I said, everybody's paid taxes. Everybody's taxes goes towards the roads, the sidewalks, and everybody pays. Everybody uses them. It's that simple. And required in the village proper, sidewalks are required, it says, but not in the new village. I don't understand that. There's a lot of sidewalks in the village proper. The old village, there's a lot of roads without sidewalks. I take that back. Okay. Are you going to pave all of those sidewalks on all those streets to make that requirement? That's the way I read it. We're talking about a lack of funds already. I think that just should come back, as the other fellow said, should be more time spent on this and a fair assessment. Lineal feet is a fair assessment, not 0 to 175 feet. You don't buy your road that way. You don't buy your pipe that way. You buy everything by the foot. To make it fair, you get charged by the foot, not by a 0 to 175. So somebody having 175 feet gets the advantage of paying a lot less than a person having 55 feet. That's not correct. If you're going to do it fair. But the fairness of it all is the way it's been done. Everybody pays, everybody uses the facilities in the village. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trumbull. Tony Vastine, I hope I pronounced that right, sir.
Apologize for being late, so I'm probably, I may be repeating what a lot of people may have already said in this comment. I'm not too familiar with all the assessments, the village, how it worked previously, and all those things. I've quickly looked over these, and just echoing Mr. Tremo's words here, I think there needs to be something more fairly spread out throughout the village as a whole. If, for instance, the property that I own, and if I'm being totally honest, I'm being a little selfish here. I portion of the village that I own the entire block. So anything that's done on that block is going to be solely my responsibility. I'm not the only one that uses it. Again, echoing Mr. Tremble, what he says, everyone in the village uses it. I didn't request to have that repaired. I understand the road probably could use some repair, but it's totally functional for what we need, especially where I live. I have very low traffic flow, things like that. For a decision to be made about my property, though it's the road, it's a village property, without any discussion to me, I disagree with someone. I didn't ask to have the road paved. I didn't ask to have the curb and gutter thing done. They work just fine. Maybe that's the wrong way to look at it. Things, if you don't repair them, will go to complete disrepair over the life of them, and do eventually need repair. But I think it needs to be a collective village effort, not just the one person whose property by chance was selected to have the repairs done at that time and date. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Mr. Martinson?
Mike Martinson, 751 Carberg Lane. And all the comments that I agree with completely that everyone has said here, that this really should be a fair thing for everyone. My family moved here in 1957, and Port Edwards has always prided itself on we're all in it together. We all pay together. We all, whether it's the police department, the roads, the fire department, the volunteer fire department, how many people volunteer. I mean, that's just, it's a community thing to pick out certain people and have them pay more for something that we all share and we all use. Doesn't seem right to me either. At a minimum, and I understand you have your public hearings, but you don't know whenever it comes to that. At least you should at least send a letter to every resident in Port Edwards and say, here's what we're going to do. Please contact somebody if you have any feelings on the situation. So just, you know, this is almost like the world of politics. You're backdooring this, making people pay without really representation, you know, taxation without representation. So I am strongly against this. I think more effort and more time should be put into it. And I really encourage the board to at least shelve it, table it for right now, and relook at this thing a little closer. Thank you.
Ms. Matternick, Ms. Katie Matternick, did you want to speak? She's the only one that's on citizen. Ms. Katie Matternick going twice?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Okay. There are a couple of questions, and the public comment section is now closed. But if you would.
Yeah, Joe, you're really muffled.
Okay.
Yeah, you get it. Go ahead. Very good.
I would like to, I think in the meantime, generally they don't do it, but I will extend 5 minutes. Do you have any high points, Colonel, that you would like to address out within a 5-minute time frame?
I do, if allowed.
I will allow that.
All right. So I greatly appreciate the comments and thank you for even taking the interest in it. And this has been an ongoing discussion since November. And the way most of you know how it's worked is that it flows up through committee work, our Streets and Recreation Committee, monthly meetings that are all open to the public. It's talked at almost every board meeting because there's an update given to by the CERT committee, the Streets and Recreation Committee. And then it came to a multitude of options, to be honest with you. This did not start as that. What they call the wheel tax, adding a couple dollars to your driver's license. What they call a transportation utility fee, which everyone pays an amount as determined by how much you use your car on your property, which is the way Rapids is actually going. An increase in infrastructure fee on either your sewer or your water bills. So there's a multitude of assessments. And I think for clarity, we need to really understand there's a difference between our public works budget, which is over $1 million a year for this village. We spend a lot on infrastructure, from payroll to cleaning our parks to doing streets, a lot. When it comes to assessments, an assessment, for clarification, is just when the village touches your property in some form, sidewalk, curb and gutter, street repair, water line, whatever, then there's an onus due back to the village because of the work we're doing as a village, because we're doing it for the good of the group, the good of the village. So the assessments that were written on the books were 100% of a lot of things. And that's a lot of money to ask for a lot of our citizens to say, here's a $6,000 bill for new sidewalk. Here's a $6,000 bill for new curb and gutter. And that's where we looked at this being totally wrong, regardless if you had 10 feet or 1,000 feet of linear foot. So when the guidance came back saying, hey, look at other ways to make this fairer, then we started going down the route of what's our options, as I explained those options. And then once we refined it to, let's look at a flat assessment, give you two categories. 95% of the village is less than 175-foot lot frontage. So that's about as fair as we can get. 95% of the people are going to be in that bucket. The other 5%, your churches, your schools, your big properties, DMI and whatnot. They're the guys in that 5% category that bump them into the next category that would pay a bigger portion. But the majority of our citizens will never write a check for more than that 175 bucket. And then we looked at the numbers. We're not going to be 100%. The guidance given by the CERT committee, don't do it 100%, don't do it even 50%. When you look at the numbers for all the work being asked for, the citizen contribution to a work being done by the village is in the 20 to 15% range. That's your contribution if we as a village are doing work on your property. That's more than fair, because the bulk of the work is being done by your property taxes that's being collected every year. Less than, out of that $1 million, out of your property taxes, you pay $1,000 property taxes, about $300 goes to public works in your property taxes. That's it. There's police, there's fire, there's payroll, there's other things. But about $300 goes to public works. So you can't be thinking and asking that $300 should cover everything we do in this village for reconstruction, when you know we have an aging infrastructure. You know our pipes underneath the ground are busting all day long. And Ben and his crew's out there all day long fixing that. Our streets are getting tore up and so on. So the assessments was just to look at, as we do, and you see these charts on the wall, that's the projects going out 4 years. We go out 10 years. Those are the projects that we as a village are looking at, that we're going to possibly, going down this road, have assessments for people impacted. But it's not for construction. There's still a construction budget. There's still money going into basic construction. We looked at a way, I was given guidance to look at a way to be fair when we touched someone's property, how we can have them contribute to the good of the village, a smaller portion, not this 100% that's on the ordinances right now. So that's where we were going with this. The question came up about, I answered the 175, why we thought that. We initially said it's all the same. I don't care if you're the church, I don't care if you're a 25-foot frontage. But because of fairness, and some points being made here, why should I pay the same as the church? So we came up with how many people are impacted. And then 175 number came out That was made sense. Also, the linear footage, it's a great point. It's cheaper to pay by linear foot, use linear foot. Trust me, when we do linear foot, you know what we have a village have to hire? A surveyor. We have to have a surveyor to do the actual assessment of your frontage. That costs money to the project. When we use a bucket of 175 greater or less, then we can use the standard county maps that has everyone's frontages. And it's a very simple, costing nothing to us as a village. It says, you're under 175. Let's move on. I don't need to spend 10, 20, $30,000 in a surveyor's pocket for us to calculate you got one more foot than you. That's a waste of money in my book. Don't need it. So that was a way to look at, let's keep them in two categories. And that's it.
5 minutes. Without objection, I'd like to extend it 2 minutes because a lot of people seem to have asked a question. Reference money being removed from a budget or not put back in. I think that's something I would like to have answered now, if you could, Mr. Bossy. Unless I have an objection from a trustee. 2 minutes to answer that question and then we'll be done. Hearing no objections, continue, Colonel.
So the budget process is conducted, starts in July of the year. It starts going all the way up till December vote. And again, all open discussions. It starts at the bottom with the department saying, this is what I need. It bubbles its way up. And then every month in committees and in board meetings, we're refining the numbers to try to get them within the levy limits. That's just every year, same. The challenges we had this year as a village is it was the first year in many years that we had full employment across our village. So your payroll goes up. That's just nature. It's the first year that we addressed a woefully inadequate fire department payroll, even though they're volunteers. They were getting paid less than the Walmart greeter. That's wrong for someone who puts their life on the line. I'm sorry. That's my saying. Totally wrong. So we increased their payroll. So stuff like that happened, that when we came to the budget, the area that you don't see is that we had a construction budget of X amount, but based on how we can use reserves, TIF money, other buckets of money, we said we can reduce this year our money contributed to our construction budget, because guess what? The 3rd Street project is going to be coming out of our TIF money that we've been saving year after year after year. That's why we saved it. And it's TIF district. So that's where that money's coming from. So there's a $300,000, $400,000 project. So some of you are saying you slash the construction budget, you're not doing anything. You're going to get a $400,000 brand new street on 3rd Street. We're going to do 1st Street. We're going to do a bike trail. We're going to do Verbunker. I mean, we're doing a lot of projects. It costs money. So yes, we did take a hit because of how we had to restructure. But going through this year, we're looking at how we can better use our reserves, how we can better find efficiencies in our departments, and rebuild our buckets of money for our long-term projects. That's coming from your engineer that wants to see that. I'm a friend of Public Works. All right, that's what I do in my life. So I'm not here to slash and burn their budgets, but we got to do what makes sense for us as a village.
Okay, that will close the public comment section on agenda items. Moving on to number 6, the president's report. And again, thank you for standing by tonight to answer more questions.
Sure. Yep.
President's report number A, to reinstate by special committee of Parks and Recreation Committee. And then we got as a standing committee under the name of Parks and Recreation as of March 2021. Chairman and meeting dates and members to be announced. I'm still planning on going through appointing the special committee with the trustees and the chairman. But I had a discussion with the vice president, and he brought up some very valuable points about why we should skip the special committee for parks, just because it's only going to be for a year, and go right to the standing committee. And Eric, if you would, I would like you to verbalize what you told me, if you could.
We can't hear. We cannot hear.
Sometimes it's easier if you drop the mask.
Yeah,
So,
your sound is poor, Joe, and Eric's is inaudible.
Worse. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, what did Dana say?
Just can't hear.
So, can you hear me now?
You guys
Yeah.
good now?
Yes.
Okay, so we had a discussion about having a Parks and Rec commission. As you guys know, that's kind of where my interest lies, is with Parks and Rec. So the idea was to have a commission where there'd be a meeting or an agenda if need be at certain times, and I just said that we should bring back the committee like we had last time, so that there's minutes and we can have discussions on it. Stuff needs to come up with other things, so. With the dog park and with Splash Pad and other parks and projects that are coming up, I think it's just best to have an acting or standing committee. So that's where I just kind of left it.
And the other thing, talking with Boz, I'm gonna ask his, to state his reasons why he told me. There's like two main people I heard from. And Boz pointed out the river walkway that is all part of the DLI development, and they're already in negotiations on that possibility. So Boz, I'll let you take over.
The bulk of work is starting to exceed our capacity, in my opinion, in CERC, with the amount, when you include infrastructure, parks, cemetery, recreation. It's just asking a lot for that committee to take on and do all the prep work, that the ability to have two separate areas focused on public works, infrastructure, and then all our parks and recreation, which we have a lot in the village. Then we're able to put the right resources, the right committees together, the right citizens together. And I think it would clean up a lot of stuff and make a lot more sense.
So if it's the wish of the.
Can't hear you, Joe.
If it's the wishes of, could you turn that? If it's the wishes of the board, we can bring that up as a motion in April. Go ahead, Dana. Go ahead, Dana.
I can't hear you. So
Sorry.
Like I was saying, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. If it's well, let me back up. The work schedule is there to bring the Parks and Rec Committee back from when we merged with CERC back in 2017. The work is there with the Splash Pad. You heard Eric and you heard Colonel about their feelings. My intent tonight was to assign a special committee till our reorganizational meetings in 2022. But after talking to Boz, after talking to Eric, I want to know the rest of the board members' feelings, because if there's enough support, I'm not going to assign a special meeting tonight. We will have that as a motion item that only the board can approve at our April meeting. So I'd like to hear from you, please.
I guess I'll state my opinion. It sounds like a good idea and a way to separate those two, to separate that committee into two different focuses, which is probably a good idea. My question would be what that does to the committee structure overall, since there's only 3 of us on each committee. I assume more people assigned to more committees, but not sure what your focus is, Joe, or what you're thinking.
That is correct. There will be 3 trustees that will be assigned to 3 committees, and everything else stays the same.
Okay.
I would be in support of making that change.
What was that, Tara?
She's important.
I said I would support that, and I think that it would be a given. I think you're leaning towards having Eric on that committee, and that seems to be a no-brainer.
I can't promise Eric will be on the committee. I would go.
I thought that's what you were saying. I'm sorry.
Yeah, me
that's okay.
too. I thought the same.
Betsy, John,
Yeah, I'm in support of that because I know being on CERC right now that agenda gets pretty hefty and gets pretty long and complicated. So splitting that up, I think would be nice, and then we can focus more on different things a little bit better if we split them up.
John or Dana?
I have no opinion. I'm not involved in the committee work and haven't monitored it in any detail, so I'm gonna leave it to the people who are in knowledge of it to make the decision, because I have none. I don't know enough to have any significant input.
Thank you.
Joe,
Yes, John.
yeah, I don't have a problem with, I mean, parks is one of the very, very special positives about Port Edwards, and one we should definitely give the appropriate attention to. I'm just concerned about expanding committees. You reorganize the campaign, the committee structure into what I think is a very good committee structure. I'm just concerned about a fourth committee, but it's a good reason to have it. And CERC is going to be overloaded with street projects and all kinds of stuff like that. So I understand the motivation. It's another committee.
Well, we went from 7 down to 4, so we'd be back to 5, but not up to the 7 mark. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask Boz to put that on the April 13th board meeting, which is the last board meeting of the current board session that ends on April 20th of this year. And it'll be in motion form, as it has to be, to bring it back permanently. Is that okay?
Sure.
So we'll move on. The other, under section B, and I filled the committee's in on this, my intentions. I am going to appoint a special projects committee. We did have it at one time, and then we we just let it lapse. And the basic thing is Boz wrote here, to streamline village business and special issues, DMI, Nepco Lake, etc., and then be directed to the full board as they would be required. And that committee would consist of Trustee Duncan and the village administrator. And the reason being is because of their involvement with DMI, and as we all know, in the next 2 years, it's going to really heat up on the detached area around Nepco Lake coming back into the village fold. I hope there wouldn't be much litigation on that problem, but you don't know. And talking with Boz, I like the expression, Dana, I agree with it. I talked to Boz, and we're going to be starting to work on that, if I remember right, this year already. So I think it's very important. So that committee will be officially good to go again. And like I say, Dana, you and Boz, you've been working together on the DMI stuff anyway, pretty much up to this point. So I would just like to see you continue. And I think maybe a monthly report to your parent committee, which is CERC, would be in order. Any questions? Okay. You guys, good luck to you all.
Motion for all hazards coming from you.
What do we have?
Motion for all hazards.
Under item C, I will entertain a motion to approve resolution 2021-02 adopting the Wood County All Hazards Mitigation Plan that was dated September of 2020. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Motion by Trustee Duncan, a second. I will second it. And under discussion, Boz, if you could explain it, that we have to have this Otherwise, we can't receive some federal and state
Yeah, so
funding.
this is an administrative action. There's no cost to the village. There's no cost in time or anything, but based on the emergency management plan from FEMA through the state, we are required to be a participant in the county plan. If we don't follow the county plan, then we are not available to get any grants or additional emergency funding. So this is strictly an administrative thing. We have received the plan. We'll probably work this through probably public works or public safety when it comes to, executing the plan, the all hazards plan. This is when we have a tornado, fire, so on and so forth. But it's an administrative action. They just need us to get a resolution so we can get grants moving forward.
Any questions or discussion? There are no requests to speak. All those in favor of the motion to approve resolution 2021-02 adopting the Wood County All Hazard Mitigation Plan signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Okay, number 7, committee reports. Colonel, Airport Committee.
Airport Commission, you see your minutes there. The biggest thing that you may hear some discussion in the community is there's an initiative to remove a bunch of trees based on the FAA saying they have to clear the entry and the exit of the runway. So for us, there's not a lot of residents that live over there, but they're having to gut a lot of trees, old time trees that's been around there on people's property. And it's more a concern to Rapids, but on the south side, possibly around Nepco Lake Road, there may be some residents that will voice some concern. This is a federal directive that the airport's going to have to execute. So that's the only thing that's bubbling up for our level.
Thank you, sir. Item 7B. Chairman Mitchell, please. CERC Committee.
Okay, as already has been hinted at during this meeting, we spent a lot of time in our February 18th meeting discussing assessments and the plan that we were going to go forward with. The minutes will be included with the minutes for this meeting, and if anybody wants to access those, they are available online under the village website as well. Other than that, there'll be 2 motions that have to do with topics that we discussed. The other one was townwide road repairs, which will come up also. Geese droppings was a topic again, and also projects that Public Works is working with. So I'm sorry, without further ado, I move for the approval of resolution number 2021-01. It's a resolution levying a flat special assessments for major village construction projects along streets, roads, and alleys for new or replacement construction projects. We put this on the agenda for discussion by the whole board. That's a comment. In addition to, we're putting this up for discussion from the whole board. So I will need a second.
Okay, a motion by Chairman Mitchell to approve resolution 2021-01, resolution levying a flat special assessment for major village construction projects along streets, roads, alleys for new and replacement construction projects. Do we have a second? Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Duncan. Discussion.
Madam Chairperson,
Yes, sir. Oh,
my concern, everybody on this board knows I'm a roads and water guy. And for the Public Works budget, I have no problem with the flat special assessment. I think it's very fair. But why do we have to incorporate it when we basically, and I accept responsibility for not seeing that at budget time. I accept that responsibility. I think we've done a great disservice to the Public Works budget, and now we're out, and one of the residents mentioned this, so I absolutely agree with. We wouldn't even be talking about this. I think we're overspending as a village And now we're in a little bit of a corner, and I cannot support this resolution.
Okay, John, thanks for your comments. What I would like to comment on back to maybe the whole board, and actually I think we need to probably comment to the whole village about this. There was already an ordinance present in our ordinances that did assessments. And this was really simply a revision of that. And I think people are seeing it as, you know, a big chunk of money that's going to come in, which, and I maybe need to let Boz speak to the details of that, but we really are revising that ordinance.
Madam
So-
Chairperson, that's not my issue, the revision. My issue is the decrease in the public works budget causing us to revise.
I get that, but I'm saying that the two, not that they're
related.
not related, but it's not one and then the next. Any other comment?
Any further discussion?
I gotta say something.
Okay, Eric?
So, I guess what it comes down to is.
Eric?
Where are you,
Can't hear
Eric?
you, Eric.
Yeah, we need, whatever mic that is, everybody needs to get closer to it.
Okay, presidential edict, we're all in person next month.
That'd be great.
So my question to Ben and Boz is, what is the current assessment? What are we being assessed for? Is it just curb, gutter, and sidewalk?
So September of 2008, we changed the ordinance to do curb and gutter only. 2008 September, we had curb and gutter only at full price. You had 250 paid, 250 paid per foot. That's what residents, some of that were here today, paid for. That was on our books. And then last month is when we tabled that assessment to talk about the wheel tax what we have now.
Okay, so I was not,
Trustee Saylor, I will grant permission to go off table this time, but let me know the next time, please.
so the other thing that I have to say is I was not at that last meeting because I had a basketball game. I mean, you guys can blame the wheel tax on me. I kind of brought that up and I was kind of in favor for that just because I myself would like to see, and I don't want to rehash the discussions that have already been placed, but I'd be more comfortable paying $20 more per year for my vehicle than to be stuck with a $5,000 assessment that you get $10 for 10 years to pay on. So when you have a $20 registration fee over and above, you get that money every year. That money is not, I mean, it's $30,000, $40,000, but if you take all the assessments, you have 10 years to pay that, you might only be getting $1,500 a year as a village from everybody or whatever. So I guess I would like to go to Disney World every year, but I can't afford to go to Disney World. So I can't go to Disney World. So I think deep down, we gotta look at some of these projects.
I can't hear anything.
Eric, you're not coming through. Sorry.
Get closer to the mic.
Come down here. So my thing is, if we can't afford to do the project, then we should be spreading out the project. Or if we can't do it all in one shot, basically what it comes down to is we should only be paying for what we can afford. Okay. So I guess that's all I gotta say.
Any further discussion?
Can I just get a clarification? Because I think we're talking apples and oranges. Can somebody please explain to me, before the modification happens, what exactly is the responsibility of the property owner for a property or a project that's built in front of their home? Just tell me that dollar amount and how it's calculated. And then let's explain exactly what the change does.
100% curb and gutter, roughly $45 a linear foot. That's all.
Okay, so curb and gutter. The new change will include the street.
Check. Everything that's on the screen now, mill and overlay, streets, full street repairs, curb and gutters, sidewalks. And if we do sewer, water, or storm water, we lumped all those together. So it basically addresses any work done to a village residence property. Yes.
And on an average, do we have any idea, taking this into account, approximately how much this would be per linear foot? I mean, are we talking about by the time it's said and done, this is going to be more than $45 a linear foot? Or is this going to be roughly the same? It's just a change in how it's calculated.
The 45 is just for curb and gutter.
Okay.
Every one of those categories have different linear foot calculations.
All right.
You see a full street repair, that's a major project. In all these estimates, the only one that we as staff would say we need to relook the number is if we go a chip seal and assess that number of 500 needs to be more in the 250 range. So it basically is in the same level of a 15 to 20% contribution like all the other areas.
Okay. Now, one additional thing that I would like to have explained to me. Okay. What are the villages or municipalities around us doing? Because it seems to me that I've lived in Beloit, I've lived in Mauston, I've lived, and every one of those had this almost the exact thing we're talking about right now. And it's something that's been just a normal situation. If you have a large property, you end up with a large bill or frontage bill because of your responsibility and what comes into play.
So that's an interesting one because of the variety of the villages and towns and cities around us. Rapids, for example, 100% sidewalk, curb and gutter. Their assessments are more for revenue generation. For example, just this week, they were assessing over $250,000 on their residents for work projects. We are in the $5,000 range annually. So it's apples and oranges for sure. Nakusa went a route of increasing by 100% their sanitation fee as an infrastructure fee, doubled that to make money, but they still have on their books curb and gutter, sidewalks, 100%. But they don't do a lot of projects, I'll say. Same with Saratoga. Town of Port Edwards is they don't do many main street projects. So it's a variety all around us. This would be if we go this route, 2 points, this would be the cheapest of all our counterparts, by far the cheapest. But at the same time, like I said, every meeting to trustees, look at what you see on the screen right there, is that's your a la carte menu. We don't have to charge for any of this. We don't have to charge for chip seal, mill and overlay. You're not going to upset me. You're not going to upset Ben. It's just, you asked us to staff it. This is the staffing we're giving back to you to be fair, be equitable, to be transparent, and to charge way less than any other community, as well as what's on their books right now. This would definitely be cheaper going a route like this than what's on the books right now, specifically for a Third Street project or stuff like that that's coming up, that are major projects that the village is going to conduct.
Thank you.
Boz, not to drag this out any further, but I just heard you and Ben talking. I think Ben was answering maybe one of Eric's questions about the history. And I know you mentioned it, but what has been in the ordinance, what has not happened with it, what we are trying to happen. And I'm asking that because I feel like we've got a huge PR project in front of us.
Historically, this is not revenue generation. It's never been for the village. It's not about looking for replacement money for public works. It's not. Otherwise, we would charge 100% and call it a day. This is about, when we do projects, a fair contribution. So historically, and Diane chime in, our assessment money that generates because of financing it for 10 years, because of the amount of projects we do, It's in the 5 to 10,000 range, if that, annually. It doesn't contribute to any of the projects. It's just a small contribution over time that we throw back in public works. So we don't look at this as revenue generation.
Madam Chairperson,
Yes,
we're
sir.
talking about 5 to 10,000. I would say vote this down, have a budget meeting and find $10,000, which I think we can. I don't know why we're doing all this for 5 or 10 grand. And we've actually gutted the public works budget to do this, which makes no sense to me.
No, but one doesn't necessarily.
We're gonna get back where the presiding officer.
Yes, we are.
The speakers to speak. This is a board meeting, not a committee meeting. So if you want to speak, address me. Point well taken, John. If you want to continue, go ahead. Otherwise, it's back to Sue.
Okay, sorry. I thought I went through the chair. I'm done.
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
could I make a suggestion and maybe no, I probably shouldn't do that. I'm wondering if we should send this back to committee again. But I'm sure we need to take care of the motion too, so.
So we might be on the same page here. I'm going to turn the gavel over to the vice president so I can legally make a motion to the board. Okay, Eric, you're now, if you would recognize me, sir. I'm going to make a motion to postpone to a certain time. I'll explain more about that later. And I will need a second to continue.
There's already a motion.
It needs a second.
Second,
Tierra, is that you?
yes.
Okay. All right, if I may continue, Mr. Vice President. What that means is right from Robert's Rules of Order, the motion to postpone to a certain time or definitely gives you a chance at having a better luck the next time around the issue. Exactly what Sue was going back to. It doesn't kill the motion. It simply reschedules its consideration. That is what I think we need to do. If we postpone indefinitely, that basically kills this motion. And I'm basing that on because Sue alluded to it. We did have an info. It was legally noticed and everything. We published and we had a public hearing. 4 people showed up, but there seems to be a lot of confusion out there now. And I'm sure some of that is they're hearing it on the street. But at the same token, I don't think a 30-day wait is gonna upset the apple cart. That's my motion.
Question, Mr. President?
Yeah, John.
So the initial motion that Sue initiated, and there was a second, I believe, Dana. So we don't have to.
No, wasn't me.
I think
Or was it?
Nope, it was Tierra.
No.
No, that was the first one.
Oh, the first one,
I'm
yes. the
just
first one.
asking
I'm
Dana,
sorry,
and
yes.
you know, so we don't have to do anything with that, is we just kind of.
This is different than making an amendment to the motion. This for currently and for temporarily supersedes the motion. Basically, the motion is still there. It's still seconded. But now we just want to take some time, gather more information from the public, and then have this on the April or the May board agenda. So people, if they want to make comments, they can do it in writing or whatever. If we need to send a letter out, let's send a letter out. That's my motion.
I would
So
agree.
are we now in open for discussion of the motion, your motion, Mr. President?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I want to just indicate all the road projects that were supposed to be done this year are funded. That's my understanding. The difference is we didn't gut the public works budget. We just the funds that were being used to do the roads come out of the TIF as opposed to our general budget. So for the 1 year hit, we changed over how the money was spent. That's all. Second, I cannot for the life of me believe in any way possible anybody is going to be happy no matter what we do. And I think that I have a responsibility to do what I think is right and to stand for it. This is a Republican set or government. I was elected to serve in this capacity and do what I think is right. If people don't agree with me, they can vote me out. I'll be glad to go. I've got plenty of other things to do with my life. But for now, tabling it further when everybody has had more than an ample opportunity to address the issue and pay attention is a waste of time. That's it. Thank you.
Mr. President, may I make one more comment?
Yes.
That was a yes?
Yes.
Oh, okay. In my opinion, this is what's needed, and Boz has explained everything very well, in my opinion. But I sense from the community, or at least the ones that we're hearing from, that there is not really a clear understanding of what this motion does and what the history is and why it's coming forward and what's happened with the budget and where the money has come from. And thank you, Dana, for those comments, because yes, the projects are being paid for just out of different funds and so forth. We were all present at the budget discussions. So that's it. That's all.
Mr. President?
You have to address it to Eric. I passed the gavel.
Oh, sorry. Eric,
Yes.
I would like the record to show I voted against the budget when it did come around. Period.
Okay.
Having fun, Dana?
Call for any more discussion. If not, take a vote on the motion to postpone definitely.
Is there any more discussion on the motion that President Zerflu put in? Hearing none? All in favor of that motion? Can we read back the motion? one more time?
Please, please.
The motion would be to postpone definitely or to a certain time, that time being the April or the May, it'll be up to the board to bring this back for a vote and a continued discussion if necessary.
Does everybody understand that? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Aye.
What happened there?
Two.
Nay,
Bingham,
whatever.
Duncan.
I'm against postponing.
I did not hear.
I am also.
Everybody understand that an aye is to support the motion to postpone definitely.
Okay,
Then what the nay? I
Eric,
believe
I
you,
didn't
John,
hear
you're against
yours.
it.
can we do a roll call vote?
Okay,
Gonna do a roll call vote for resolution number 2021-01, that we will postpone for 30 days the discussion of the flat assessments. Nope.
is
By-
that table good with the board? 30 days enough?
Can't hear you, Joe.
Is that timetable good for the board, 30 days, or you want to extend it?
I think it might be productive to have a little longer.
Well, then there has to be a
Okay.
motion and a second. To amend the motion to amend.
This is an amendment. This is a postponement.
We're going to postpone resolution number 2021-01 for 60 days. That's the motion.
60?
60, yeah.
Who said 60?
30 is not enough. We have to have it 60.
So Tiara, you seconded that motion. So do you consider that a friendly amendment? If so, then your second can stand and we don't have to go through another amendment.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask Fred
Okay.
one more time. We go with 30 days. I think that's sufficient to get anybody that wants to contact the administrator or a board member to share their views again. I don't think we need to go out 60 days. $30 days.
Original motion said to the April or May board meeting.
To the next board meeting?
The April or May board meeting.
Or May?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that leaves it 30 to 60 days.
Okay. All right. Could you read that back, Diane? What you have down?
Okay, it's a motion to postpone the motion to a definite or certain time. That time being the April or May board meeting.
Okay, we're gonna do a roll call vote. Diane?
Okay, trustee Bingham,
Nay.
trustee Duncan,
Nay.
trustee Brendan. Yes. Trustee Mansell,
Nay.
trustee Mitchell,
Yes.
trustee Saylor,
Yes.
and president Serflo.
Yes.
4 yes.
Okay, that motion to postpone definitely. Everybody understand that's 30 to 60 days. It's either gonna happen in April or May, but this will be settled at that time. Either one of those meetings, so keep posted. And I highly encourage you to let your voices go. Okay, or let your voice know. Let us know. Anything else? Spread the word.
One thing, Mr. President, if I may.
Yes, go
Just a
ahead.
prediction that we'll have the same angst and contempt 30 or 60 days as we're having tonight. Just a prediction.
I cannot agree or disagree, sir. Okay, Eric, you want to throw me the gavel?
That's one thing Mr. Duncan and I agree on.
Okay. All right, we are gonna go back to the agenda here, which is item 3. A motion to authorize the use of the Nepco Lake planning funds already budgeted to pay for the village portion of the tri-municipality agreement, which is 0.62 miles to resurface Town Line Road in 2021. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I move.
Motion by Mitchell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Grundon. Before we discuss, Baz, you want to explain that a little more?
Yeah, so for for clarification here, this is the agreement that we went in with Grand Rapids and Saratoga. 10 years ago, this road was surfaced. We were contributed to that. Our portion for contribution is 0.62 miles. It roughly comes out to, depending on the estimate given to us by Saratoga, they have the most. So they're the ones that's finding the contractors, getting the bids. They'll present this to us in 30 days with the cost. It'll depend on what the assessment is of the entirety of the 4-mile road. So our portion is pretty good. Our portion is in the high end of the paving assessment. So we may just be a simple, chip seal for us. So that's a lot cheaper. The portion further out east towards Grand Rapids, that's more of a mill and overlay. It's going to be more costly, but we only pay for our portion, what we need to repair as part of this agreement. The cap we put on it in any discussions with Saratoga and Grand Rapids is $25,000. That is a worst case scenario. And that's based on if some of our section comes out pretty bad, but we don't see it going that high.
Discussion. Okay, hearing no request to speak, all those in favor of the motion as read will signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Back to you, Chairman Mitchell.
That is all the business and all the time that I wish to take.
Chairman Brendan, public safety, please.
All right, public safety. Met, oops, I just lost my page, 1 second. We met March 2nd at 5 o'clock. There was a review of both the police and fire department monthly reports, and those are available if you would be interested. The thing to note was the discussion about the fire district proposal as was presented by the City of Rome Fire Chief and Administrator. After discussion about the benefits, the pros and the cons, basically it was concluded by the committee that our needs are generally met, and we're doing quite well the way things stand. And we wouldn't really stand to gain a whole bunch from participating in this fire district. At this point, we received good quality training. We work closely with Wisconsin Rapids to get that training. So at this point, again, it basically was concluded, it just doesn't stand in the village's interest to participate in that. Otherwise, our next meeting is April 6th at 5 o'clock. Anybody have any questions?
Okay, hearing no request to speak, we will move on to the planning pit committee. Chairman Duncan.
Shouldn't it be or finance next, or is it out of order here?
My agenda, Dana, is got pit first and finance under E. Edward, the next one.
All right, it's then the minutes are out of order. We met at our regular meeting on March 4th. At that time, we approved the bills. We also had an update on the purchase of 241 and 251 Market Avenue. We also had a brief update as to the owners of the various condominium or condo or business slots within the municipal building, discussed it with them. And then we had a brief discussion regarding DMI and discussed the meetings that have been going on between our administrator and DMI's representative. And that's basically it. We have our next meeting scheduled for April 8th at 5 p.m.
I just had one question.
Okay, hold on. Go ahead, Trustee Saylor for Chairman Duncan.
In the minutes on number 4, it says motion by Saylor. I was not there at that meeting. So.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yep, we'll adjust.
I missed that. All right.
Dana, was that the meeting that I subbed for Eric, or you had basketball?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, then that would have been me.
Got it.
Sorry about that. If it would turned out bad, we'd have blamed Eric. Okay, FHR.
We also met on March 4th. And at that time, we approved the bills and entries and such. We had discussed the situation with the sanitation department deficit and just giving instructions to the administrator to look at options as far as debt service to resolve that situation and to come back with recommendations at the next meeting. So we will be discussing that at the April meeting. We also discussed motion to approve of the flat assessment that was just brought up. And then we indicated that we were going to go into closed session in today's meeting to undertake a joint review of the village administrator after his 6-month period, and to set goals for him for the next calendar year. At that point, our next meeting is again scheduled for April 8th.
Okay.
And that is my report.
Mr. Chairman, if you just hold on, because I'll have you do the necessary stuff to go into closed session. I just want to advise the crowd that I'm asking you to leave, but I will come out. If you want to hang around to come in for the end of the meeting, then you can all come back in. For now, we'll have to go.
Got,
Oh, yeah.
okay, everybody's off the line. That's on mute.
What was that, Mark?
Everyone's off the line. That's on mute.
We have to move to go into closed session.
Pardon?
We have to move to go into closed session.
We do have to.
Yes.
Yes, I was just.
Who's taking them? Yes, so before Bob's walked off, we should have done that. And then he can do the roll call, and then we can go into closed session. He
I'll make
can
a
walk
motion
out.
to go into closed session as per state ordinance 1985 sub 1 sub G as a George, discussion about employee counseling for the administrator 6-month review. Roll call.
I second.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Dana. Mansell,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Grundon,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Bingham,
Yes.
Sailor,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. We are now in closed session.
And I'll move to come out of closed session.
Second.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
All right,
Aye. We're out of closed session, so
okay, let's
turn it
take,
back to you, Mr. President.
I'm gonna invite everybody back in that's still here. And Dana, when I announce what we did in closed session, I'm just gonna say that the chair of FHR will be meeting with Ray Bossert on the evaluation.
Yep, that's fine.
Sue, have you been traveling?
Are you kidding?
A lot of
No.
people are.
I know there are.
I
people-
haven't either, but I'm getting pretty cabin fever pretty much.
Well,
I'm vaccinated now, so now I want to.
I got
Yeah,
one more to get
exactly.
once I get vaccinated.
That's exactly my,
Betsy, I have to tell
My
you,
issue.
Wood County Health was phenomenal.
I don't work there anymore, but
I
thank
know you don't anymore, but
Yeah.
Aspirus never called me. So I got on the Wood County Health site. They called me, got me in. My second one's April 1st. Then Aspirus called me last night. I said, you've been too late. You're too late.
I wish the
It's
second.
like a beer card for you old folks. I
They're
just
going
want to
down
get it
memory lane
done.
out there.
yeah.
And I'm hoping I
We're
get
not ready
mine
for the
here
meeting to
shortly.
be over.
Well, you're young. You're a young guy.
I don't know.
Yeah,
that
but I have
second-
asthma, and
that
my
second dose was a
breathing
doozy.
is really not good. And so I want to have it, and I'm supposed to
Where we at?
supposedly fly to Richmond, Virginia, the first week of May. And I'd like to have my shots done by then.
That would be a good idea.
Would be.
Okay, our 3-minute recess is over. We are reconvened as we took the vote. And item number 4, motion and possible action, if any, with respect to the closed session item, is the chairman of the Finance and Human Resource Committee will be meeting with the district administrator, the village administrator, to go over the evaluation. I was thinking school, Betsy, did you catch that?
Every day.
You didn't miss anything. Okay, we're going down to Parks and Recreation will be next month. And Special Projects Committee, we will be checking in with them starting next month. Any unfinished business for previous meetings? Hearing none, we'll go to number 9, new business. 9A, supporting the Village of Port Edward Spring and Yard Sale. And we're going to take B right after that, the Village Fireman's Dance. So go ahead, Boz.
So I lump these two together, actually. These have been bubbling up from citizens as well as from the fire department. Questions, obviously based on COVID and limitations, restrictions. Both of these entities, one being the village, the second being the fire, is asking what is the guidance for conducting these. And we can put out best practices, we can put out wear masks, we can do whatever. But I think for us to get back to normalcy, staff recommendation is we move forward as normal and just leave it up to people's opinions and their own judgment calls to either participate. They don't have to go in someone's house, put the stuff on the sidewalk, put it in a garage. They don't have to participate in the close-up dancing, but they can, put a few dollars in the fireman's boot and put some money and then move on and get a burger and move on. So I don't think we need to hamper them. We just need to put some guidance out so I can start setting up dates and so on.
Oh, no dates yet on either one of those, Boz?
We have tentative dates, and I honestly, I'd have to get back to you on them.
Okay, I just was curious on the yard sale.
Third Saturday in May yard sale, we would keep that the same. And June 18th for the fire department dance.
Then would this be the appropriate time to have the conversation about Fun Fest?
Good question.
Sure. If the guidance for these two is a go, then I would think that's a go too with some restrictions put in place if necessary.
Ditto.
Sure.
Okay.
I assume we have the date. Is that the second weekend of August for the Fun Fest?
Yeah, we don't do that.
I'll confirm a date when I reach out to the committee because they haven't reached out to us yet. So.
Oh, okay, all right.
All righty. We're now going to move into item number 10. I'm sure we all have read it. And if you have questions, please ask them of Boz. I have one about the census. And when we get to that, I will ask it. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. I think it was included, but I'll scan it it was not included. My apologies. So what you're seeing on the screen is and I'll send it to you in email. I apologize. I thought it was in there. No changes on Verso. We're working with DMI. You heard about the ERCO situation. We are, as a village, 25% vaccinated based on Wood County guidance and tracking people within the village. So that's a good thing, mainly because we have not only an elderly community, but we have the what's the thing up here? I'm sorry.
Nursing home.
Nursing home. I'm sorry. Yeah. So we have that. So that is a big part of our numbers that they give us accountability for. So everything's tracked with the village. We're setting some of the projects with our public works projects, getting set with the surveyors so we can start getting put shovels in the ground here in the next few weeks. What you see here is the American Rescue Plan. This was voted on. This is at the federal level coming to us this week. What we have gotten through a combination of League of Municipalities as well as the Counties Association as well as the state. This is what, as a collective, would be injected just into simple Port Edwards. And it's a lot of money, from $1,400 per person checks to child credit money to food stamp increases. And based on the numbers we have within our village, this would be what would be coming in the next few weeks to the village as a total entity. What would come directly to the village would be roughly about $150,000 in what they're calling stimulus money that has very few strings attached, is honestly the way the federal government wrote it. So infrastructure, payroll, my recommendation, this is going to be floated up once we get the check through FHR and we can have a discussion of where this money would either be sequestered or utilized this year or put in reserve accounts and so on. There's some additional county level money. The county is directly getting 20 million. There's been very little discussion. The president may update us. Very little discussion at the county level what they're going to do with this $20 million if it's dumped on them, and will it trickle down to the municipalities, or will the county just spend it at their level? And then our school will get close to over $1 million in additional money to be used for whatever they want to use for. So there's a lot of money coming. The interesting thing is, this has not been spent since World War II. And at the end of the day, every taxpayer is costing $25,000 per taxpayer. So that's the fun part of it, that all this inject of money comes with a bill, payable at a later date, and more to follow on that. And we will track that. Human resources, no change in our budget, payroll, or village staff. So you're good on that. We talked the projects. Trucks are still coming. We're very well situated in our snow removal budget for the remainder of this year, as well as into early next year for this year. So comfortable with where we stand. And we talked about the Town Line Road. No change in fire, police. A lot of activity in the fire department this past month. You see our budget numbers for what we've expended. A lot of upfront costs, beginning of the year type money, as well as what we get from taxes. So you'll see that. And I'll be getting some recommendations to propose to FHR on multiple options with banks around here to address our loan for the sanitation deficit, not the loan for the sanitation. So I'll have some information on that. We're looking at about a number of $600,000 to get us in the black, pay off the deficit, and put a little bit in there for the future, the current operation of our sanitation, so we can start trying to break even with that. We're up to 4 work-study students. I got 2 in the police department. I have 2 in the front office here. They're working special projects like DMI, dog park. Very appreciative of what they're doing for us. They come basically every afternoon, and they participate. They'll start participating in some of the committee meetings. So it's looking good. You'll meet them as we continue on here. We're looking at a 1 through 5 April closing for the property at Market Street. Basically, Mr. Noble has accepted the offer, signed his side of it. He's asked for 30 days to clear out some stuff. We'll make sure he's not taking any infrastructure, stuff. So we'll keep an eye on that. But there's a lot of junk in there, so I'd prefer he get rid of it instead of us.
Did you close the closing?
The first week of April. We should own it by the next board meeting, I would hope.
It's a good idea to keep track of the infrastructure. I just have a feeling we might have copper wiring and copper pipes disappearing too on the way out.
A lot of money in recyclables. Yes, sir. Census
Buzz?
update. Yes, sir. Yep.
On Facebook, I'm on a page called Friends of Rapids Music,
Yep.
and they just posted something that said, music every Saturday in Port Edwards, live music.
He's having a last 30-day hoorah, it sounds like then.
Well, I have no idea, and I think somebody's got I was gonna respond, and somebody else responded and said, in Port Edwards? But I thought I'd give you a heads up in case somebody asked you.
Okay. All right.
I don't think it's real, but maybe our buddy, our former tenant put it out there. I think that's where it originated. So just for a heads up.
We'll do. We'll
Maybe
keep an
you'll
eye
be
on it.
standing outside the village hall with a violin and a cup.
Census, we have a delay till July for getting the actual census numbers, and that delays us to do some redistricting. Just for information purposes, our numbers right now by household is pretty much equal amongst our 3 voting districts, about 280, 200, and 280. So households were good. What will determine if we need to do any recommended redistricting, if required, is when the census tells us how many people are living in those households. That may drive us into a discussion that we would have to either add a district or adjust some districts. Right now, we're pretty much cut across road lines. You got Verbunker, you got Leitander, and that's it, right, Diane? I think that's it. So we're pretty clean of how the lines are cut and where the population falls out right now, but we'll see how this next census takes us.
Scott Krug will probably fix that.
You see the most COVID data. So we're still tracking COVID, not a lot. We did have one positive case in Port. That person's been sequestered and so on. Same with our schools, nothing crazy going on there. We are tracking the immunization numbers. And right now, right here, you see the bulk of who's available. So now we're up to educators, public facing employees. These are, front office people, so on, non-frontline healthcare workers and those enrolled in long-term Medicare. So they've expanded a lot of people but it still hasn't reached the general population. Probably another 30 days till that happens. A couple alibis here. The Veterans Memorial, we received 2 large donations. ERCO gave us $2,500 and Port Edwards Bank gave us $1,000. So we're well on the way to get that project completed. We'll start buying some of the flagpoles and putting some holes in the ground here to get that operational for Memorial Day. Fire department is working a safer grant. Eric's tracking that closely. This is mainly for a digital sign. So it'll be the ability that between the fire department and us, we'll have a discussion of how we can utilize that as a village, put information out and so on. We are working with the trail committee signs with the money we got from the county, $14,000, talking to Grand Rapids, Saratoga, Buren, and so on. And we should start seeing the signs being installed the next couple months to mark our trails as a network. And we're going with the Heart Trail Network designation. So every community has a naming function. Nakusa's the Swiftwater, whatever. Rapids is the Okamajoki Trail or some Indian name. We don't have a name for our system, but as a totality, the Wood County Trail Network is going to be called HEART. Heartland Educational Activity Recreational Trail Network. So it'll be able to track walking trails, bikes, ATVs, snowmobiles, libraries, everything. So that's the initiative that we're working towards. We talked redistricting, and that is all I have. Any questions?
Yeah, I just have the reference to $20 million, and as a county board member, I'm not saying we haven't talked about it yet, but there's been no plans, and just keep watching the agendas that come out for county committee meetings. Pay attention to operations committee. That's where it'll first be brought up for any move to the board. July may be too early to have all the data you're going to need. It was our last update we got. They're looking to early fall now before the final numbers come in.
Yeah.
Which I don't think they really know what's going on yet. And I can't say anything political, but this stems back to a previous administration as to where the problems have come from. Otherwise, the county's population, we were at what, 70-some thousand or something in there. I think that what they said at the last board meeting is we're up a little bit, but we didn't get a number. So thank you. Oh, and I'm also on the redistricting committee for the county. So if you don't like the lines drawn in Port Edwards, you ain't got far to go to complain.
All right.
By the way, Buzz, if you're not familiar, I saw, or my family apparently saw the first robin. So that means we have 3 snowfalls left.
No, okay.
That's the old wives' tale around here.
The hawk is still out then. Yes.
Yep. So.
Thanks, Dana.
I'm just trying to be the bearer of cheery news.
You gotta try harder, Dana.
Oh, okay.
Madam Clerk, you're on.
Mr. President, I do have one quick alibi just for the benefit of the trustees. The break with us going outside, chatting with our citizens, well, I think was very helpful in getting them some clear information. And I think that's to the point that Sue brought up. We probably need to do a better PR campaign. Once explained, yeah, they're not happy, but it answered a lot of their questions. So I enjoyed my time out there.
And you know, sometimes
Good for you.
do well with
Glad to hear that.
information and stuff.
Yeah.
But you mentioned that we're a senior community, and a lot of times people got to feel it in their hands and read it.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, Okay.
Joe?
Trustee comments.
Joe, excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead. Trustee
Oh,
comments.
sorry. You're looking away. I thought. I did. Why don't you email a survey to the board? And I think April, I'm ready, willing and able to meet in person. We still leave the other option available, but with a mask and us old folks are getting vaccinated. I don't know. I just like the in-person better. I think we do a better job, but just a thought.
Yeah, he said old people getting vaccinated, and I'm not in that lump of people, so.
You got a
watch it.
ways to go, Betsy.
But she's been vaccinated. That's what
Oh, that's
she's saying.
right, school
Yeah.
system.
So you just keep me out of that old category.
Oh, you're not.
And Tiara's young too, plus Dana. So,
Dana's not young.
I'm not young.
I
I'm just
didn't
on the,
comment.
I'm on the cusp.
Okay.
Just a thought.
Actual serious comments from trustees at this point or no? Okay.
No, I'm ready to come back to it and just give me the vaccine. I'll be glad.
I got my card. I've had 2 of them. All right.
Eric's probably vaccinated too if he decided to take it.
We're gonna do the committee calendar from what the heck's today, March 10th to through April 13th, our board meeting. And I just want to make a little thing now, when you go into your meetings coming up, Chairman, set a tentative date you might want to meet, but we can't do anything for keeps until the night of the reorganizational meeting. That'll be the night we'll set the actual committee calendar for late April and into May. So just keep that in mind. Also, Boz, if we get down to village reorganizational meeting, that will be a village board reorganizational meeting. I think we talked about that. And please spend a little time on the strategic plan.
Will do.
Oh, you're
No, I'm sorry. So the same night of the reorganization, 30 minutes dedicated to the president and swearing in and so on. That should be cut and dry. We'll take a tactical pause and then we'll go into the committee of the whole for a strategic planning session that will have food provided. It will keep you all here in person as best as possible if we're able to at that time, which we should be. The discussions there is it's not a lot of homework stuff, but we're going to have to get some clear guidance, we as staff, moving forward on village mission and goal and vision. we need some help there so we can move the ball forward. NEPCO Lake, there's a lot of bubbling up discussions and concerns with NEPCO Lake because we're not meeting the money criteria, i.e. right now the money was supposed to be over $80 million in valued, and it's barely busting 20 million right now. So there's going to be some concerns that I will need to get ahead of this when it comes to guidance from y'all of discussions with the residents over there in facilities, utility, what we're going to provide to them, services, the satellite village station we're going to do over there for fire coverage and so on. So NEPCO Lake, DMI, a hasty update that we'll provide on DMI and what we want them to do. We're at a point where we worked off a lot of the issues and money owed. Now we're needing to start pressing them on. I need some tangibles, as in the Riverwalk. Start selling the lots. We're doing a rezoning meeting with them on 22 March to rezone it to PUD so we can properly market the properties, the lots, and not just have businesses sticking them in there. We need, other types of entities to come in there to revitalize it. So just some guidance there. Hovering about an hour and a half, but we'll try to keep us on track. I'll be the facilitator for that. I think coming out of that as a whole, we'll all be on the same page. We'll have good marching orders, and then we can move into the summer months where we don't want to bog down a lot of long meetings.
question. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Second.
Trustee Mansell, second. Duncan.
I was like, Dana, I'll second it.
As I moved,
Yeah, he's
anytime I
done.
can be done with something, I'm happy.